So the story with the worst dad on TikTok right now, aka Patrick of Dad and Daughter Dream Team, keeps getting weirder, and we're gonna talk about it today. Before we get into it, make sure you like, comment, subscribe. It all helps the channel tremendously. Let's see if we can keep up with the numbers from the last video I did on them. That was absolutely insane. Also, happy Halloween. What are you guys for Halloween? What am I gonna be this Halloween? I'm just gonna be dressing up as a depressed guy in his late 20s who is falling witness to the fall of an empire that he was born into and told to believe. So how'd I do? Anyways, let's get right on into it. So as we left off in the last video, we had Hannah, who was interviewing Patrick and Sarah of Dad and Daughter Dream Team, and she was kind of teasing this part 2 interview, which part 1 was crazy. We had the bombshell of him admitting that he had a literotica account. I still can't say that word very easily for some reason. He also admitted to, starting the Ariella Brigmon AI account. There was a lot of breakthroughs, and Hannah was kind of holding this in front of us like, hell, I've got another interview part coming. Guess you guys might want to follow and subscribe, and I'll admit I was pretty easy on her in this last video, but in this video I'm going to be sharing my views about about her and people like her that interject themselves into these crazy conspiracies or things that happen on the internet. But yeah, as you can see here, this is Hannah. She's the one I featured in the past 2 videos on these people, I believe, and she's the one who kind of self-inserted herself into this situation. Now, I find that oftentimes people that do this are incredibly narcissistic, and they're just full of red flags. I'm gonna be honest. Like, anybody who completely makes themselves center stage in some sort of internet drama, whether it's wanting to get an interview, whatever that is, like, honestly, a lot of you guys asked me to do an interview with these two in the comments of my last video. I would not touch that with a 10-foot pole personally, for many reasons, but we're gonna get into it. But regardless, Hannah has been making countless videos talking about part 2 of the interview coming soon. More info. She's been acting like there's this crazy world of information we have not been privy to yet. And to me, that just screams grifter. And, well, needless to say, she was kind of outed as a grifter. I'll be real, even throughout the interview she did with them, especially after Patrick admitted to everything and started crying, and she was like, Sarah, go hug your dad. I just got bad vibes from like day one. I'm sorry, I'm a vibe person. Like, I can pick up on that shit very easily, and to me, she just had those like snake eyes. It was just somebody desperate for attention. And don't worry, we're gonna be talking about Patrick in this video as well as Sarah, but right now it's about Hannah. I just got the worst of vibes. I'm not gonna lie to you guys. But needless to say, all of this pressure to produce this part 2 of the interview that I teased in my last video that she's been teasing for the past 2 weeks, all of this got to her, and apparently she started getting hate because, well, people found out things about her personality that obviously, especially right now, a lot of people are not going to be too happy with. Basically, it was her political affiliation, let's say. It was much to my surprise when I went to go find a video from her channel and everything's been taken down. Literally all of her socials have gone dark because people have exposed her as being this sort of grifter. Yes, she got us that interview, which is huge, but the way she went about it and just the way that she was trying to like leech onto these people that have their like 15 minutes of fame up like that anyways, it was just desperate and really sad. Anyways, I'm gonna share a snippet of a message that she posted that I actually laid eyes on and then just got caught up in other stuff this week. And when I went back to go find it, her channel's been deleted, so I've only had this screenshot. It's a little bit cut off from the top, but needless to say, she says, the moment it came out that I'm a proud Republican and a devoted Christian, all of these so-called kind people turned cruel. This bitch seriously hit us with the so much for the tolerant left. Like, I'm sorry, Hannah, already you sound like the biggest snowflake. And yes, I love using that word against people who unironically have been using it against others for years. What a fucking crybaby. Let me remind you, my political or religious beliefs had absolutely nothing to do with what I was trying to do, which was bring truth and justice to light, which that's fair, that's true. But clearly that didn't matter to any of you. I've informed Patrick that I will no longer be hosting any interview, and I'm completely done with this situation. I'm stepping away for my own peace and sanity. Because of all of this, I'm done. I'm off Reddit, and my social media will no longer be active in the sense of posting or engaging anymore. I'm walking away from all of it. So yeah, she is taking a step back from social media. These crazy people on the left, they were just so wild about her and her beliefs. I honestly don't buy this personally. You want to know my 2 cents? She felt the pressure from announcing that there was a second interview, and either Patrick canceled or she realized there's really nothing left to this story that she can uncover without, getting them in some serious trouble with the law, which Patrick is dumb, but he's not that dumb to where he'd incriminate himself to that degree, I don't think. I just think flat out she had nothing else left to say, and this this is her way of kind of being a pussy and like, you know, bowing out from the internet. But it continues, and sorry about this person's face. Thank you to them for chronicling this on TikTok, but this is the only form of this screenshot I could find. It's ironic. The same people who claim to stand for love, peace, and acceptance have shown nothing but hate, judgment, and hypocrisy. I can only assume many of them are liberals, and if that's what the group stands for, then I don't want no part of it. And then we get to my favorite part here. This is a banger. So I'm walking away proudly with my MAGA hat on and my Bible in hand. Sister, you tell them. You go do that. Anyways, that's the whole Hannah portion of this. Honestly, it rubbed me the wrong way she handled this from the beginning, and I will admit, for the sake of keeping the video nice and not bringing my own, you know, vibes into it a little bit too much, even though I'm reacting, I didn't want to be the one to put out there that, man, I could... Dude, I need some water. What's going on? I didn't want to be the one to take away the attention from the story and talk about the way that I think she handles it. If you go back and watch my last video on them, I think you could tell that obviously I'm not picking up on the best of vibes from her. And needless to say, they were true. Look, I don't give a fuck who you voted for or how wrong you are about literally every facet of modern society. But what I do care about is you saying that there's some crazy interview coming and then there's nothing. Like, you really edged us for no reason, bro. This sucks. Like, I really thought Patrick was going to end up in jail by the end of this month. That was my dream ending to the story. And now it seems like it's just going to remain unresolved because of her immaturity and snowflakeness. And it had Redditors on the Snark subreddit also really kind of, you know, debating with each other about the bad vibes that they felt or if she was doing good for the community. This poster said, "This woman is a weirdo grifter who had no business opening a can of worms for a family whose father gives off annihilator vibes." Some of y'all tried messaging me for a whole day straight defending someone now outed for reposting "I stand with ICE" and had the audacity to call me hateful while defending the same woman who just exploited a vulnerable young adult on camera because she managed to weasel her way into getting Pedrick to admit to making AI, as you can read there. And it was like Christmas Day for you guys. Okay, I admit it kind of was, because this is the Truman Show for most of you, and even though there's still a involved that everyone seems to conveniently ignore, which honestly, that is true. I take ownership in that. Sarah does have a brother who is being caught up in all this, and that is honestly very sad, but obviously the situation at their house is not okay, and we're trying to bring light to it. The point of that post was that when you actually read someone's body language and use your thinking cap, you see it. The performative empathy, the calculated pauses, the way she centered herself in the heartfelt moments, it's all right there. Manipulation doesn't always scream. Sometimes it smiles, nods, and plays nice while letting someone else take the fall. Wow, that was a banger. This person's a good writer, but you can see it plain as day. But y'all were too busy getting ready to gossip on a Snark page at the expense of someone who's clearly been taken advantage of her entire life, as well as a mother who's not fully aware of what's happening and a who's very visibly neurodivergent. All great points. I really don't disagree, and I'm glad I'm not the only person who got those vibes from Hannah beforehand. And again, I don't want anybody to think that I'm, you know, dishing this at her because of her political stances. Again, I don't give a fuck. It does not apply in this situation. I do find it funny that she used that as her excuse of why she's leaving, because as I mentioned earlier, I don't think that's the case. But needless to say, I'm glad I'm not the only one who picked up on these vibes. And this commenter also left a banger, which I heavily agree with. I genuinely think the only person who should be interviewing these people is someone who is extremely trauma informed. This is such a serious case involving trauma on an extent that is unimaginable for most people. We are losing sight of the severity here and its lifelong detrimental impacts. And I agree with both of these posters as well. It's really easy to get caught up in the moment in these situations. And I find that Snark page and even some of the comments on my videos, which I've tried to moderate to the best of my ability, have been very heavily leaning into bullying Sarah for this, not thinking of the fact that she is truly the victim here. I feel like a broken cassette player here because I've said that in every video, but it's true. Patrick is really the one who we should have our sights on to be, you know, shit talking all this stuff. And I do think this is something that someone who is trauma informed, a therapist maybe, somebody with legal background should be the one to facilitate interviews like this. I'm happy it happened, but as we can see, it turned out a little rough. Now, we're not just all going to be talking about Hannah here. There are some slight updates with the family, as this really weird one. Apparently, Sarah did have a OF that she made that was verified, which means that she is indeed the one who set it up and provided photo proof. So that doesn't really help their whole narrative of like, my daddy would never write this smut because he knows that that's not a Christianly thing to do. He would never do that in the eyes of the Lord. Like, well, you signed up for this and you haven't posted posted, but you were thinking about it. So what does that tell me? Obviously, the moral situation is not as down pat as you said. Again, I'm not trying to flame Sarah. I'm just showing that there have been contradictions with what they've said. And I think they're trying to manipulate the audience, which is also why I think they've been radio silent since then. They're hoping this is all going to get glazed over, but it doesn't work that way on the internet, bro. We are here. We are aware of your situation. And sadly, that's never going to leave you until you set the record straight or actually distance yourself from your family. There's also been this video leaked of him playing at the water park. This isn't anything serious, but when you look back through everything they posted in the context of knowing like how it ended up, it gives you bad vibes. I'll just say that. Like, what is he doing here, dude? I get doing that if you're in middle school, but yeah, maybe I'm nitpicking here. I still get the worst fucking vibes from this guy. But now let's move on to a statement from somebody named Leftovers from Therapy, who has a very nuanced and honestly mature take about this whole situation. And this whole section is kind of what I want to have the video rounded out to be as we possibly depart forever from the story.
What we see is it doesn't have to go farther behind closed doors for it to be the way that Patrick looks at Sarah's body inappropriately is emotional sacrifice. The various endless ways that he treats her more like a wife than a daughter is emotional.
So sorry, I obviously have to be censoring some terms here, but yeah, that is a very good take to have. Like, obviously we don't have to act like, what if there's more behind closed doors? Like, no, we've already seen enough. We've already seen enough bad vibes, red flags, and flat out creepy things to make a conclusion that this is not a good situation for her or her brother to be in. I think we can all say that with a unanimous agreement on that.
Sarah's brain has developed under all of this chronic abuse. So when people act like she is responsible for this, you have no understanding of these types of traumas. All that I see in her behavior is evidence of her trauma.
And yeah, it does make me sad to realize that Sarah has caught a majority sometimes, for what I've read, of the hate on the internet. I think it's unjust. This isn't me trying to white knight for her. I don't have any skin in the game here. But I'm just like, I'm appalled that you can watch this situation and then victim blame her and act like she's not the one who's been going through Stockholm Syndrome for all 23 or whatever years of her life, bro. She doesn't know any different. How do you expect her to wake up from this nightmare, which she doesn't even realize is it's a nightmare? You know what I mean?
And when somebody experiences a type of chronic abuse that has frequent elements that feel good to them, it is extra hard for them to wake up and see that their family dynamic was abusive.
So yeah, bravo. She just put that into words better than my caveman brain ever could. At the end of the day, Patrick is a monster. Sarah is the one who unfortunately is stuck in this situation and doesn't quite seem to have the wits about her yet for leaving it. Hannah's fallen off the face of the map, so she returns to being an NPC that none of us knew about. And I guess to close it out, as it's been a pretty harsh video, let's react to one final clip of Patrick to round things out of something disgusting that somebody spotted in a video of his when he came back.
I could never go as far as the literotic.
You saw that correctly. That is a bug flying across his teeth. I can't. There's no other words. I'll see you guys in the next upload. Let me know what you thought down in the comments below. Like and subscribe if you haven't already. Hit that bell so you never miss an upload. And I'll catch you guys in the next video. Until next time, peace out. Why did I salute again?